Let me tell you guys something. Black society has always been a group that knows how to fight an enemy that we can see. But when it comes to fighting an enemy, an oppressor that we can't see, we have no clue. Our true enemy is invisible, and it's always been invisible for the past 500 years because this group of this group of people have created a system that oppresses us and protects them, right? Which is systematic oppression, aka white supremacy. And so when it comes to that, and not only the injustices and the mistreatment and the subjugation, etc., of black society, you have multi-billionaire philanthropist conglomerates coming in to fund the efforts of quote unquote grassroots movements, grassroots organizations trying to make a change and eradicate systemic oppression. But when they do that, they want to control the narrative, right? So it's always been about that since the 1960s when we had civil rights movements from a grassroots level. You had major non black organizations, philanthropists, groups, entrepreneurs coming in to fund these movements and control the narrative. It's not about guilt, it's about power and controlling the initiative, how black people should feel about our oppressors. That has been the distraction for decades, right? And so now with the recent controversy of Kanye West saying white lives matter, right? And I see what Kanye's doing. There's a lot of things I disagree with Kanye West, but I see what he's doing. He wants to make money off of the so-called issues and the so-called um, mistreatment and the atrocities of white society, similar to what George Soros has been doing for decades from black society, right? It's a major distraction. You got people like Puffy coming out, speaking his mind, say he doesn't support white lives matter, right? But where is that same energy for George Soros? Where is that same energy for the Trilateral Commission? Where is that same energy for the Bilderberger Group? Where is that same energy for every other organization that funds groups like Black Lives Matter to control the narrative? Where is that same energy for them, right? But we want to get upset about Kanye West saying "White Lives Matter" on the T-shirt that he's going to make money off. He's going to profit off that. He's going to make money off of that. But again, George Soros has been doing it for decades. A multi-billionaire has been doing it for decades, and nobody says nothing about that. See, I'm gonna show y'all something. I always like to research and improve, my point about things, right? So this is a recent article from New York Times, and this is President Patrick Gaspard of Open Society Foundations, which is owned by George Soros. All right, I'm gonna read a quote here. It says, "There is this call for justice in black and brown communities, an explosion of not just sympathy but solidarity across the board. So it's time to double down, and we understood we can place a bet on these activities, black and white, who see this as a moment of just inter incrementalism, but whole scale reform." That's a big word there. I probably mispronounced that. Anyhow, the demands being made now will not be met overnight, and we know the gaze of media and elected officials will turn in other directions. He added, but we need these movements to be sustained. If we're going to say Black Lives Matter, we need to say Black organizations and structures matter. You see, that's my example of controlling the narrative. Open Society Foundation, founded by George Soros, funded millions of dollars to organizations like Black Lives Matter. Right there, proof is in the pudding that they have controlled the narrative. They want to tell us how we should feel about injustices. If we're going to say Black Lives Matter, we need to say Black organizations and structures matter. How about just fucking Black Lives Matter? Why we got to change the narrative? Why? Because y'all funded the damn organizations. Anything that's funded by multi-billionaire conglomerates, philanthropists, silent partners, you're compromised. You lose your power, you lose your control. You're no longer grassroots, you're corporate, you're commercial. So that means your organization doesn't matter and it's obsolete. So any kind of so-called reform, injustices, or whatever the case you're trying to do to make changes to systemic oppression, aka white supremacy, is no longer being controlled. Is no longer being what it should be, and is being controlled and manipulated by organizations like Open Society Foundation. That's the proof right there, family. That's the proof right there, right? So again, when it comes to what Kanye West is doing, selling White Lives Matters t-shirts and making a profit off them, organizations like Open Society Foundation, George Soros have been doing it for years. The Trilateral Commission has been doing it for years. The Rothschilds have been doing it for years. The Bilderberger groups have been doing it for years. 4 years, and none of y'all complaining about them because guess what? They are in the background. They're not, you don't see them. But they own pretty much the majority of society today when it comes to all 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war. I should say 10, which also adds to health. So 10 areas of activity they control from those groups I just mentioned. All right, so man, like again, keep that same energy for people like George Soros. If y'all mad at Kanye West for selling White Lives Matter t-shirts, keep that same energy for George Soros and Open Society Foundation for saying Black Lives Matter when they're a non-black group from a non-black entity like George Soros. Right? So that's all I got, family. Until next time, Chauncey, GMOGMediaTV signing out.